If you've been in a car accident, what you do next can make all the difference. I found that most people make one of 5 costly mistakes. That mistakes is very detrimental to how much money you receive in your pocket. It could cost you thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket. I'm Brett Harrison. I'm a New York personal injury attorney, and I've represented thousands of people and collected millions of dollars for thousands of injured victims. In this video, I'm going to break down the 5 biggest mistakes people make after an accident, and I'm going to show you how you can avoid them so it won't affect your settlement, how much money goes in your pocket. Mistake number 1, not calling the police. And what do the police do? They make a report. But if you don't call the police, they don't make a report. And that report is documented evidence. It's not just paperwork that they handwrite something. That becomes central to the start of your claim for your injuries, to get your car fixed. And you know what happens? A lot of people say, I just don't want to wait an hour for the police officer to arrive, or 2 hours, or 3 hours, or 20 minutes. I got someplace to go. Or you're like, you know what? I feel fine. Or the other person says, come on, don't worry about it. We'll deal with this later. And you know what happens? You say, okay, we'll deal with it later. They seem pretty nice. And then all of a sudden, how the accident happened is completely different to what they tell their insurance company. You tell your insurance company, and now the other person's insurance company is like, well, that's not what our claimant said, and you don't have a police report, so there's no documentation. Or even worse, the other person says, I never got into an accident with this guy. I don't know what this person's talking about. He must be mistaken my car. I don't know what happened. So when in doubt, don't doubt. Just call the police officer, get a report. It's not just a piece of paper. Without a police report, insurance companies know it's going to be harder to prove your case, or for them basically to pay you any money on your injuries, whether it's for your personal injuries or for your property damage. And they take advantage of the fact that you don't have a police report. I had a client that was walking in a crosswalk, and another vehicle turned and hit my client in the crosswalk. My client ended up needing knee surgery, but no police were called. My client got his plate number. We ran the plate number. We filed the claim. And you know what they said? We'll talk to our client. The insurance company said, we'll talk to our client. What happened? They say, my client said it wasn't him. He just stopped to help your client. Fortunately, we sent an investigator, and there was a business that actually had footage, and it clearly showed the other side turning, hitting our client. But I got to tell you, it took 3 or 4 months, more than it would have had there been a police report. And eventually he got compensated. All his medical bills were paid, but there was a delay for 6 months on that case. So key here, document. Create that paper trail. It's so key. You want to protect your rights. You want to protect getting a settlement for which you truly are entitled to for the injuries you suffered that were caused by this other car or claimant. Just a little fun fact for you. Under New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, Section 605, if you were driving in New York State and one of the 3 things happens after an accident, if you killed somebody, God forbid, or someone was injured, or there's property damage to one of the vehicles, including yours, of $1,000 or more, you must report the accident in New York State. Mistake number 2, saying too much to a police officer that comes to the scene of the accident. What do I mean by that? Sometimes after you're discombobulated or after an accident, you just say so many different things. Just answer the question and don't volunteer too much. For example, you could say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. I don't know what I was thinking. Or I don't know where they came from. Maybe I was going too fast. I'm so sorry. You know what? That's not what the police officer asked you, and that may not be the case. I know when we're nervous, we tend to just say a lot of different things, and especially in these times after an accident. It's very confusing. But here's the problem with that. When you talk too much, when you say things kind of randomly, it could actually be used against you. Remember, the officer is writing down what you're telling them, and it could put it actually in the police accident report. under the description or on the sides, there's a whole keynote table on a police report. So don't do that because why? Remember, the insurance company for the person that hit you is also going to get a copy of that report and they could use your words against you, even though it might be misconstrued or you meant something else or you don't remember saying it because you were out of it. So try to calm down after an accident because it could affect you in what we call in New York State comparative fault. So let's say they determined by based upon what you said and the way the officer wrote it in the report that you are 30% liable. So that means whatever your case may be worth, they may deduct in their mind their offer to you, whether it's to fix your car or for your injuries you suffered, could be affected by 30%. So what I'm saying is slow down, try to be calm. I know it's hard after an accident. Your energy, your adrenaline is all up. Don't say, it was my fault. I don't know what happened. I was speeding. I'm sorry. You know what? The less you say, the less fuel the insurance company has to use against you. And besides that, you don't really know the full picture of what happened. You're only seeing it from a small vantage point. There may be a whole host of other things. So let the investigation reveal the facts and the cause. Even a friendly apology can be clearly misinterpreted by the insurance company. Remember, the other insurance company, they're not your friend. They're not there to help you. They're a business. They're trying to save money for their insurance company and their insured. So they are looking for reasons not to pay you as much as maybe your claim is worth. Mistake number 3, refusing or delaying medical treatment after an accident. Why is this important? Well, a lot of times people, when they're in an accident, all of a sudden all their adrenaline is going because they just want to make sure they're okay, just that they can walk away from the accident. But a lot of times they feel pain, and so many people just say, you know what, I'll see how I feel tomorrow or next week or the week after. You know what? Unfortunately, you need to document the pain. And the sooner you get to the doctor, the emergency room, it could be right after the accident, the next day or the following day, don't delay the treatment. Document it. Don't try to be your own hero and say, I'll self medicate, I'll just put ice on it, or I'll deal with this at another time, or I just don't have time to deal with this. And then you typically, as some people, delay until they cannot stand the pain anymore. And it could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, which honestly, we know the cause of the pain. You just got into a traumatic event, an accident. You were hit by a 3 or 4 or 5-ton vehicle. Of course, your body's going to be affected. Just because you don't have fractures or a break, it could have misaligned your back, could have hurt your shoulder. You could have jammed your knee into the dashboard and you're limping, you're having problems walking now. So what I'm saying is don't delay because you know what? As cold as this may sound, insurance companies will use that against you. Well, it took them a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months to seek treatment. It couldn't have been that bad, or else it would have sought treatment right away. Well, you know what? That's nonsense. But you know what? You're just adding fuel to the fire for the insurance company, whose job is to knock your claim down as much as they can. You know what? After an accident, remember, seek treatment because you come first. Your health is what matters. They make cars, they don't make people. Take care of yourself first. And typically, just a fun fact, again, is that typically it takes 24 to 72 hours to start feeling all the different pain points and having pain, whether it's your shoulder, your neck, your lower back. That's when you first start becoming aware of the things that were injured in the car accident because now your adrenaline is down and you're back at home and you wake up and wow, you go to do something, whether it's bend, lift your arm over your head, pull back, or you start having headaches. That's when all this starts to come. So remember, take care of yourself. Don't try to resolve it yourself. Don't try to be a hero. Get treatment, get checked out. And most importantly, when you do see the doctor, make sure you tell him, hey, I was just in an accident. Tell them how the accident occurred and when you first started feeling pain, and tell them where the pain is from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, even if it's numbness or anything in your hands, feet, legs, arms, whatever it is. if you're having problems remembering things, take your loved one with you because they could also help tell the doctor what's the matter with you. This reminds me of my father-in-law. Nice guy, a little bit stubborn at times, and he had gotten rear-ended by a truck, hit his chest into the steering wheel, and when we spoke with him that night, he said, "Yeah, I have a little soreness in my chest. Yeah, but it's black and blue. I'll be fine. I got to go to work tomorrow." And I'm like, "Poppy, you can't. Slow it down." And he goes, don't worry. I don't have time. I don't feel like burdening anybody in the family to take me to the hospital and to wait. But you know what happened? The next morning, he's like, "Oh, man." I'm like, when I cough, it hurts. And it's like I'm having problems. I feel like a real tightness in my chest. Finally, we got through his stubbornness, and I think he actually went to the hospital to shut us and my wife up and the rest of the family because everyone kept bothering him. When he went there, he was told, "You fractured your sternum, and that's why you're having a problem breathing. It's a good thing you came to me. We need to make sure it hasn't affected any other parts of the body." So, needless to say, it's a perfect example. He would have, on his own, just try to let it heal on his own and gone to work, and he does manual labor lifting, which would have made this worse. As a matter of fact, the doctor said, "You can't go to work for a couple of weeks based upon your type of job," which is a very manual and physical job. So he's like, I got to put food on the table. We explained to him, of which we'll talk in another video about no fault benefits, which will cover some of your lost wages. And in the end, everything worked out fine. But sometimes you got to have to push a family member, even when they don't want you. So on the flip side, prompt medical attention, getting medical attention right away, creates a clear record and link between the car accident being causally related, as we use, that's the term, to your injuries, which you didn't have before that accident. Or maybe you exacerbated it and increased a pre-existing injury. But that's for another video. So this is key. It's that key link. Now, people often say, "Yeah, but who's going to pay for that medical attention, whether it's the ER or continued medical treatment with doctors?" Hold off. Don't worry. In New York State, under New York's no-fault PIP insurance, any injury and medical treatment and some lost wages that are caused by an accident or due to the accident will pay for your medical treatment. So even if you don't have insurance, you're still covered. Whatever car you're in has nothing to do with fault. So don't delay. And even after you go to the doctor, continue your follow-ups as per the doctor with the treatment, because inconsistent treatment could also hurt your case. Because what will the other side say? How hurt could the person be? He was told to go to the doctor. He went initially and then he waited 6 months. He waited 3 months. He didn't even listen to what the doctor said. So they'll kind of downplay your injuries, even though you're seriously injured. So keep consistent with your medical treatment and keep the follow-up dates. So in summary, seeking immediate medical attention not only safeguards you and your health, it also creates a paper trail that the crash causally relates to your injuries. It connects the two. So it stops that argument from the insurance company. It will help you get and maximize the compensation, the money you receive for this accident. Don't give the insurance company a way out. Mistake number 4, talking to the insurance company on your own without an attorney. Well, let me tell you this. The defendant insurance company, they're not your friend. I know they call you and say, "Hey, we just want to find out what happened. We're not picking sides. Hey, listen, we just want to know what's happened so we can evaluate the claim. Do you mind giving us a statement over the phone, a recorded statement? We're not going to use it for any other way. We just want to know what happens." And you know what happens? You start talking, you answer questions. For example, you might say, they say, "Well, what were you doing before that?" And you may say, "You know what? As this happened to one of my clients, and it was a real uphill battle to undo this." They said, "You know what? You asked me what I was doing, where I was going to. Well, I was kind of in a rush because I had to pick up my daughter at school and I was running a little late. So I might have been going a little fast, but I'm not really sure. But all I know is I did get there though." And they said to him, "Well, were you injured?" And they said, most people are like, a little stiff here and there, but I guess I'm okay. I'm not really sure, but I think I'm okay." And you know what happened? We now had to undo that because, fun little fact, New York State. Well, what's one of the factor that could be a cause of an accident or could affect what an insurance adjuster says, puts at fault, percentages at fault? Well, speeding. Wouldn't speeding could be used against you? And in this case, it was. They're saying, well, your client was speeding. So we had to undo that. And they took the words at my client and used it to their advantage. You know what's important to remember? The insurance company, the adjuster on the other side, it's a job for them. How do you think they get evaluated? Whether they get raises, promotions, how many claims they paid out, and how many claims were denied based on their work, right? So their job isn't to just pay you generously necessarily what your case is worth. They work for a company, they want to get promotions. To the insurance company, the other side, you're just a claim number. You're not even a person. You're one of probably 250 to 300 claims that they're handling. So you don't really matter to them. I hate to say that and to sound cold, but that's the truth. That's the behind the scenes. Now, also, fun fact again, you are not required, listen to this again, you are not required to give the other side a statement. Remember that. So you might say, well, I should talk to my insurance company, right? Yes, but I recommend you talk to your insurance company through your attorney. Why? Because you might inadvertently slip up and it could affect your rights even within your own insurance company. Could affect your rights, for example, on your injuries. If you claim you don't have any injuries or you don't give them a full description of your injuries, this is prior to an attorney, it could affect whether they will pay those doctors for that specific part of your body that you didn't tell your own insurance carrier was bothering you. So the best advice is slow down, let your attorney be your voice. That's our job. We understand your intention is there, but there's better ways of saying things. We were all taught that as a young person. Be careful what you say. It could be used against you, even by your own insurance company. So remember, insurance adjusters may be friendly, but remember, they're also trained on how to get information out of you. Their goal is to limit the liability or how much exposure their insurance company and their insured has on your particular claim. So the one piece of advice I'd give, let your lawyer speak on your behalf because the insurance adjuster knows they're not going to trick the lawyers. We know the game. We understand what they're trying to do. So if you're going to represent yourself, be extremely cautious and be short and concise. My recommendation would be to get a lawyer so it doesn't impact the end result, how much your case may or may not be worth. This could cost you tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars by the words you use or don't use. Mistake number 5, not filing your no-fault paperwork on time. What does that mean? No fault is a fancy word which just means regardless of fault, whoever caused the accident, whether it was you or the other person, or you're not sure, whatever car you're in, called the host vehicle, that means that is the insurance company that will pay your medical benefits, your hospital, and possibly part of or all of your lost wages. So what does that mean? That means you have a certain amount of time in which to timely file in New York State. Otherwise, your insurance company, who is supposed to pay for your medical benefits and lost wages, can deny it saying, oh, you didn't file on time. That time, 30 days from the date of the crash, date the accident occurred. So what could happen if you don't file on time? You could have to use your personal insurance if you have it, and they may deny your benefits as well, possibly. So don't put yourself through that stress. There's already stress enough from being an accident. So just understand the car you're in will pay part of your lost wages, if not all, as well as your medical and hospital benefits, as well as maybe prescriptions, medical devices for your knee, your back, or what have you, TENS machines. And it's called no fault because it's a special rate, a no fault rate that the doctors have to accept so that they won't come after you personally. All right, so very important, file your no fault form within 30 days. Now also, you should really utilize an attorney because there's some questions on that no fault form that, if filled out wrong, could have significant effects on your ability to have your medical bills paid and also to get lost wages. And quite honestly, it's stressful enough going through this. Let us, the attorneys, deal with all your paperwork. That's what we're here to do. Your goal, just get better, make sure your bills can be paid and you don't have that stress. Put the stress on us, you just get better. The point here is 30 days can fly by real quickly after an accident. So to be cautious, why not just file a no-fault claim or have your attorney file it on your behalf? You could always not treat, but at least you know it's filed, so it tolls that time. You're not going to be rejected for any potential medical claims because you didn't file timely. You know what? Unfortunately, I've seen so many serious cases, serious injuries, not paid, and somebody's accident claim so seriously affected because they had no insurance. They thought maybe I shouldn't treat. They waited well past the 30 days when the pain was beside themselves. They went to get help and they had no insurance, so nobody would help them. And you know what happened? They didn't get anything. I've also seen the flip side of that. They've had to use their personal health insurance, which when you do, often will create a lien by your personal health insurance company. So when the person got a settlement, 50, 60, 70% of what would have been in their pocket went to the insurance company, their private health insurance company, because they didn't timely file the 30-day no fault. Don't let that happen to you. If you need help, ask an attorney. We're there to help you. This is what we do. So don't let procrastination cost you tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills and potentially settlement. File fast, file quickly, and keep copies of everything. So we just covered the 5 biggest mistakes people make after a car accident occurs. So now, how do you figure out who's at fault after a car accident? Well, watch the next video where I give you my 5 biggest secrets to help you help yourself with regards to who's at fault after an accident.